Hello, boys and girls and children of all ages. I am going to do some... Ooh, I hate this. It's a Google page. Anyway, it is my home Google page. I learned a very important lesson. Do not make F11 your start button, because it changes it to full screen when you're on the internet. Anyway, we learn and we live, and we live and we learn. Today what we're going to do is Charles is going to do his basic political compass test. Everybody wants to know my politics. Well, I'm going to basically explain all my politics. Hopefully my music isn't too loud, that you can actually hear this. I decided to play some of my depressing music to get me in the right mood for politics currently. I should be playing Strip Clubs Built on Coke, which is my favorite, or Grandpappy Run and Shine, or Transmetropolitan. Let's see what else I got in this thing. Let's see. Reverend Radio, Miss O, She Wants Revenge, Saul Williams, Thunderprint, Placebo, Songs of Ohio, Ventura, Record for a Dream, Cinematic. A lot of trance music. Got Clash Radio, Atlas Plug, The Weekend, Horsepower, TV on the radio. Yeah, whatever. Nothing much. Grandpappy Run and Shine, I listen to a lot. Strip Clubs Built America, Built on Coke, and Invisible Radio I listen to a lot too. But right now I'm in more of a depressing mood, so I'm listening to Ohio. And let's do our political test. I do not like this test that much. It's sort of yes or no, and no gradation, and no. We know what we're going to get when we go out of it. I'm basically an anarcho-syndicalist, libertarian socialist, so that's where I'm going to end up on the political spectrum. But it's interesting for me to explain and justify my rationale for my political beliefs, and I'm bored. All right, let's get going. And no, I'm not ripping off Cal Kalinske. He did this recently. This has always been one of the things I sort of wanted to do, but never got down to it. I just wanted to record this for some close friends so I can explain my politics. Anyway, please note this isn't a survey, and these aren't questions. They are propositions to answer the logic of individual ones that irritate you as to miss the point. I ain't going to get upset with your stupid questions. You can ask me anything you want to. You can ask me anything you want to in public, too. And I will answer you as long as I'm not wearing a uniform. If I am in my official's guise and representing a corporation, I will not answer those questions. But you catch me outside of those things, and I will tell you what I think about anything. Anyway, just a few propositions to start with concerning no less how you see the world and the country and the world. All right. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I don't think globalization is a new phenomenon in America, in the world, in the globe. I think it's the same. What we call globalization is mercantilism, and what they call mercantilism of the old world was basically just basic trade routes of the ancient world. So the world has been interconnected as long as there's been humans. Don't worry, I'm not sick. I drank too fast. So yes, if it's going to exist, I want it strongly to be geared towards maximizing human pleasure and enjoyment of life. And so therefore, strongly believe if we're going to have this stupid system, it should be directed towards maximizing happiness for everyone. I always support, no, I do not support Bethlehem. Anyway, I've always supported my country whether it was right or wrong. No. I recognize I'm a happenstance of birth. There's a lot of things I don't identify myself as, and my place of origin doesn't ever make that list normally. I am sorry if that offends anybody. So, no, I do not strongly support my country, right or wrong, especially if it's wrong. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. All right, whatever you want to be proud of in life is not doesn't really bother me. If you want to be happy to be born an Armenian, happy to be born an Armenian. If you're happy to be born a Zulu, you're happy to be born a Zulu. For me personally, don't really care. I am my mother's son. You will realize really early if you actually listen to me, I am extremely pedestrian in how I formulate my ideas, politics, policies, beliefs, and it sort of narrows down to I am my mother's son. is pretty simple. And I've had extremely high-level psychologists from both Stanford and Chicago, the best psych schools in the world, try to dissuade me of this belief system and been unsuccessful. But luckily I didn't have to pay for that. Anyway, no one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Again, me being a chubby white guy, me being chubby and white sort of is a product of my birth, and my mother had some role in that. But it's more my relationship towards other human beings that I sort of am bonded to, not, aesthetics. So, our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. No, strongly disagree with that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Temporarily. I will do realpolitik. I will sit down and make peace with my enemies in order to kill a greater threat. So I sort of agree with that. I don't strongly agree with that because you're still my enemy. But I will use you as a tool to gain my advantage. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I don't believe in international law. I don't believe in law. I believe the world is governed by power. It's a dark belief, but that's sort of what I believe, unfortunately. And military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Sometimes I can see, violating international law for the greater good. I can think of cases right now in which people are being allowed to be put in cages that would maybe warrant international intervention, but we won't go there. So I agree slightly on that. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Of course there is. It's spectacle. The entire media and news organization is driven towards spectacle. So I strongly agree with that. Anyway, next thing. Now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not FTSE index. Okay, whatever. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Yes, I'm a Marxist. So, strongly agree. Do I recognize there is difference in stupidity and nationalism is a thing that exists and belief in God exists and other things act on the individual other than class? Absolutely. Werber made a baby point. But it is a valid point, but it's still fundamentally the material conditions determine the ideas. Sorry. Including those ideas of nationalism and religion. Sorry, Werber, you're wrong. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I don't want people to work. I remember the old punk saying, unemployment for all. But if I am going to have to choose, I will probably choose a little bit of inflation in order to combat unemployment. So I don't really care about inflation. I truthfully do not. I disagree, strongly disagree on that. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require a regulation. Corporations are limited partnerships that should be dissolved after that need for them arises. Not a fan of corporations as a concept. They serve a purpose in order to build, small projects in order to limit liability. But these behemoths that have been created that, Mickey Mouse never dies, I am not a fan of. And unfortunately, capitalism has not figured out a means to capture externalities without regulation. So, of course, there has to be regulation if you're going to have some form of capitalism in your society. To think otherwise is idiocy. Also, capitalism can't exist without the state. So, because corporations cannot be trusted voluntarily, they require a regulation. Of course, I strongly agree with that. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamental good idea. Yes, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. My mother beat that into my head, and it's there forever and ever. So I strongly agree with that. The freer the market, the freer the people. I have no idea what they mean by freer. Are they in a Hobbesian view of freedom? Or is it that perverted Rawls, Popper, Straussian, whatever nonsense view that they teach in poli-sci classes? I'm not a big fan of the concept of freedom, free, liberty, all these nonsense words. So the freer the people, of course not. Individual action, whatever. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Yeah, I ain't gonna sweat it, but it is sad that basic necessities are have a profit motive attached to them, like healthcare. So I sort of agree with that. So I strongly agree that basic necessities should not be driven by profit motives. Now, if you want to sell, Bugattis, and people want to buy Bugattis, it's not a necessity. Fine, knock yourself out. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Of course, the same thing. Certain vital necessities of life that maintain basic existence or ability to existence and function should not be reduced to a commodification. Of course, I strongly agree with that. So you against private property? Large-scale private property? I am against large-scale private property. Individuals' knapsacks? Nah, not so much. It's not that complicated. You can't own a mountain, but you can own your house. It's not that complicated. If you struggle with that understanding, you're not really thinking that clearly on life. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. They're managing risk. How can you say they're not contributing to society? They're managing risk. Who would manage risk if they didn't manage risk? Being raised by someone that actually took the Sermon on the Mount serious, my opinion, money changers is not too high. So, I strongly agree that, money changers should be whipped, publicly flogged, and driven from the temples. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. It worked for the North. They were able to build an industrialized society at the expense of the South by practicing protectionism. It worked for the British Empire. Protectionism in the early stage of development is a necessity. Otherwise, you're going to have capital come in there, flood your market, and use you as a form of exploitation and extraction. So yes, protection is necessary in building early economic societies. I sort of am something of an isolationist. I follow, the prime directive of don't interfere in other people's affairs. So protection is sometimes necessary. Sort of agree with that. Sort of agree. Not really hard on it, but I sort of agree with that. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholder. The only responsibility of a corporation is to fulfill its original charter, and once it's fulfilled its original charter, it should be abandoned. In our current system, is the only responsibility should be to deliver profits to shareholders, but doing so destroys overall society and basic civilization. So no, I do not believe that we shouldn't do that. But I would probably smash corporations pretty handily. They should exist for short-term charters, and those charters should expire. The rich are too heavily taxed. The rich shouldn't exist. So as long as you got rich people, you're not taxing them enough. That's where I come out on that. But how will people figure out how to do things and get the money in order to do things and do things and do things? And never got a job from a poor person. Yes, you have. You get jobs from poor people. Walmart built an industry out of servicing poor people. And as far as where to get capital from, magic. That's where it always comes from. It's a belief system. So, magic. So, tax them until they don't exist. So, strongly disagree. Those with the ability, but you'll destroy incentive. You'll destroy incentive for people to do stupid things. You won't destroy other incentives. The reason people take action is a very complex affair. It's not just they want a brand new granite countertop. And things that are driven by people who want to buy the new Bugatti, a lot of those actions do not really need to take place in society if you start to think about it. Anyway, those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of marital care. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea to do. Let's make sure only the upper class are getting properly treated and everything. So if, there's an infection of, say, COVID-19 that starts ripping through the lower ranks, that they will be safe. Oh, but who mans the grocery stores and the pharmacies and, all the things that are needed in society? This is asinine to even think about this. The reason you have fire departments is because you burned down Rome. The reason you have national health care is because of the bubonic plague. America just hasn't figured that out yet because we're backwards. So, strongly disagree with that. Government should penalize businesses that malaise the public. That's basically, you can't lie. There's always should be impingements for lying in society. It's one of the keystones of, civil society. Just read some Kant. Government should penalize business. Of course they should. Of course they should. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predatory multinationals to create monopolies. Yeah, if you're going to have free markets, you can't have monopolies in there because then you have only one actor. And then they have price setting and and your market doesn't function. This isn't even radical for capitalists to figure that out. So, yes, we strongly agree that we should abolish predatory monopolies. Monopolies cannot exist if you're going to have some form of capitalism in your society. Anyway, next page. Abortion with a life. Now we look at some of your personal social values. Oh my God. This is when you find out that Charles is extremely conservative individually, but don't really care what you do in your own life. Just because I don't smoke, drink, curse, or have meaningless relationship, y'all should enjoy these things. I just don't want to. Anyway, abortion with a woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal. No. Abortion should be used for basically birth control, but it is not being used for birth control. It's never been never. There's so many hoops to have to be jumped through in order to use it as a form of birth control. Actually, the only time it probably is used for birth control is among the upper class, who can afford to go cross country and, have their little daughter fixed, as it were, quote unquote. So, yeah, that's pretty crass, but yeah. So, strongly disagree with that. I probably strongly disagree with that because, all authority should be a question. Absolutely. If authority cannot rationalize itself, it shouldn't exist. I was raised rabid. I always questioned. My mother never grew tired of it. She could always rationalize what was happening. So if the authority is just like, don't run in traffic because you will get killed, or don't go out during a pandemic and endanger the life of other folks, our authority should always be questioned, but sometimes there's legitimacy towards authority. But it always should be questioned. So I always strongly agree. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This will probably upset people, but yeah, I believe in vengeance. I most certainly do agree with vengeance. So it's not strongly, I'm not bloodthirsty, but I do agree with vengeance. Wow. When we do, sorry, all 30, I strongly agree with that. I sort of agree with that. This is one of my favorite Neil Young songs playing in the background. Actually, my favorite Neil Young song, Secondary's Revolutionary Blues, both of which you should listen to. Taxpayers should not expect to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. If you allow just commercial interests to dominate your the culture, do not be surprised when your entire culture looks like two girls in one cup. It's just going to be gonzo porn. That's all you're going to get out of it, because in order for capitalism to work, it has to appeal to the broadest of audiences. And when it appeals to the broadest of audiences, it has to make the basest of appeals. And when it makes basest of appeals, you get gonzo porn and two girls in one cup. That's what you get out of that society. So it's a good idea. If you're going to have a state, and if it's going to be doing anything, I'd much rather it be doing theater troops in Dubuque, Montana, than, having military bases in Chad. So, yeah, taxpayers should be expected to prop up theaters and museums. Yeah, I agree with that. I probably strongly agree with that, because decent civilizations last for years and years, and most of it's culturally based and was paid entirely for by the state. Schools should not make classrooms attendance compulsory. My opinion on schools is they're forms of indoctrination. That's what school is there for, and there's nothing wrong with a little indoctrination. But you're an anarchist, Charles. How do you say that there's nothing wrong with indoctrination? Because I want my fellow cohabitants of this planet to be able to tell time. Use a base 10 numbering system. There's a whole bunch of things that you indoctrinated to believe, because otherwise this system will not function at all. So there should be some, but I really don't want compulsory schooling. So I sort of agree. So I'm torn on that. Even though I believe in the right of individual and, Dewey-style learning as a concept, but I also believe people should be indoctrinated to some basic stuff in order for society to function. They have to know to stop on red, go on green. You just have to. You can't entrust people to figure that out on their own. Unfortunately, you can't. I have always contended that I would just turn over K through 12 to the Jesuits. I like this one too. Anyway, rambling. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Do you believe in an apartheid state? No, I do not believe in an apartheid state. I've never supported an apartheid state. Having grown up in the South, I understand what an apartheid state is. So, no, people should not keep to their own. I strongly disagree. Oh my God. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. No, impatient, incompetent parents spank their children. I'm sorry. You don't hit someone. Just because I'm bigger and stronger than you doesn't give me the right, when you upset me or do something stupid, for me to hit you. Trust me, this would work out better for you in the long term. So go. Strongly disagree. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents, like their pornography collection. Oh, God. Whatever. Trust me, they already know where it is. If they're actually sort of paying attention to their kids, they know most of what their secrets are, so not really. I strongly disagree. Oh, God. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. See, this is how old this test is. Think about that. This is just, of course, you should be able to mainline, DMT if you want to. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations to find jobs. No. The purpose of education, and compulsory education, is indoctrination of the society so it will be a good citizen. Sorry, that's why it should exist. The Prussians got that right. Otherwise, if Dow Corning needs metallurgists or chemists and all the rest of it, they can pay for it. They can send their employees to classes and teach them themselves. But the state, if it's going to do education, it's going to create well-rounded, functioning citizens that have a civic duty, high intellect, and a degree of questioning and curiosity about their surroundings. People with serious inherent disabilities should not be allowed to produce. Okay, so eugenics. So, strongly disagree on this one. I don't think any of y'all should be reproducing. No offense to y'all, but none of y'all should be breeding. The human race, we had a chance. It just didn't work out for us. So, no. Anyway, the most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. This is the absolute opposite of everything my mommy taught me. My mother raised me rabid and to question everything and gave me enough leash to run that I hung myself on more than one occasion. But no, discipline in children and no, strongly disagree. There are no savage cultures or civilized people. There are only different cultures. Yeah, okay. So this is, I want to be open to all branches of things, but not all thoughts are equal. Some thoughts function better. Some thoughts plug into everything else. So I don't believe in savage and civilized at all. I don't believe in civilized, actually. Probably do believe it's savage. I think it's the natural state of all humanity. And we just lie to ourselves. But this is teasing out to multiculturalism and all that other stuff. And I want a nice salad. I don't want the melting pot. I want a salad. That everything brings something to its table, representing itself, but together it's more of a harmonious whole. I do not want gruel of blurring it into a melting pot, but a salad. It's more fulfilling. So, I agree. Those who are able to work and refuse to reproduce should not expect society's support. Why? Well, what will be an incentive for people to work if they get everything for free? Y'all are complaining about being in your house with Netflix. People want to get out and do stuff and engage. They want meaningful engagement with their environment, meaningful engagement with the material world. Certain jobs have to be done, and everybody should take their turn in the field. But everybody should take their turn in the classroom. We should institute a hard floor so that we can actually have a more civil and humane society. So strongly disagree. I am complicated on my feelings on UBI, but a UBI and job guarantee and a exceedingly robust welfare system would have amazing results in the long-term health of this society if we're going to have a government. If the government's going to exist and it is not going to take care of that which I love, there is no reason for me to bring my sword and shield to bear for its protection. It isn't that complicated. When you are in trouble, it's better to not think about it, but to keep busy with more trivial activities. Absolutely not. That's nonsense. That's just no. We're struggling out. We're picking on these conservatives of the just world theory and cheerfulness and all this. No. It just doesn't. I'm morally offended by that question. No, you confront reality and you bear witness to reality. You don't let it break you or bear you down, but you bear witness to it. You have an obligation to it. You have an obligation to yourself and to the suffering that you're witnessing. So no. First generation immigrants can never fully integrate within their new country. No, strongly disagree on that one. They will have difficulties, as anybody. If I drop me in the middle of Japan, it would be very hard for me to integrate into Japanese society, but I would hope the Japanese people would welcome me into their society. Don't think they would, probably, but I would hope they would. So I would go with that. What's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for us. No, strongly disagree with that. What is good for General Motors is not good for you. It just isn't. What's good for you is good for you. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly disagree. There should be an honest broker, and we should try to democratically achieve an honest broker in our society. This partisan news that we currently have is exceedingly destructive. Next page. And how you see the wider society. I got to better hurry this up because I'm taking longer than I thought. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Strongly agree with that. It was all the whole purpose of it, effective social control over society. A significant advantage of one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress of the democratic political systems. Absolutely. Who can disagree with that? If you would just make me God Emperor, everything would function well for me, the God Emperor. But we don't want a single-party state. So I disagree with that. But I understand, technically, if just one person ruled everything, it would function really fast. That's the whole purpose of hierarchy. I disagree with hierarchy. Although the electrical age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. I don't fear the government knowing my porn collection or whatever it is. Most people are concerned about the federal government finding out about them. I'm more concerned about Facebook and the rest of these people listening into my conversations and giving me stupid commercials on my news feed. Oh, God. The death penalty should be an option for most of the serious crimes. Strongly disagree with this. But you support vengeance, Charles. Yes, individually. You hurt somebody I care about and love about, I will personally do something about it. I will not ask the Caesar to kill for me. I will do that myself. The reason I oppose the death penalty is I do not want to give Caesar the power to live and die. I will give him the power to imprison. I will give him the power to take possession of assets. But take possession of life, I cannot, that's a bridge too far from me. Returning a person's time is hard and almost impossible, but the person can still be let loose. Taking someone's property is obviously easy to remedy by giving them property back. So, on taking life, you cannot allow Caesar to do. Can't do that. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to obey and people below to be commanded. Strongly disagree. I oppose hierarchy in all forms, at all. Any and all action should be communal and democratically agreed to, and with a simple majority rule, with respect for the minority rights. It isn't that complicated. I do not support hierarchy. I don't want to tell people what to do, and I do not want to be told what to do. Abstract art doesn't represent anything, shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly disagree. I'm not going to go into a whole breakdown that abstract art actually is representation, and that before, you can understand, before Shelley or Byron or Nietzsche or any Decamp or any of the famous artists, they understood what they were overturning. They understood the society and the concepts that they were overturning and how they were using them to their own advantage, and abstract art most certainly does that. And criminal justice punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I do not believe in rehabilitation. Well, what? I believe that prisons exist to remove elements in your society that you cannot trust inside your society. And those that we put in prison should be threats to society. People who are not actual threats to society should not be in prison at all. And someone can be a threat to society for economic reasons, by lying and manipulating and there's a reason if they cause enough grave harm. So it's not just going to put murderers, rapists, and thieves in prison. There's going to be some other white-collar crimes that fall under that purview too. But I don't believe in rehabilitation. I would hope it would work towards that. I don't believe in punishment at all. I don't put you in prison because I am punishing you. I don't sit you in timeout because I am punishing you. I sit you in timeout so you can get control of your emotions and situations so you do not become a threat to me and others at the engagement. So, sort of, I wish it would work towards rehabilitation, but I definitely do not believe it should be for punishment. Prisons exist to remove dangerous elements out of your society. It's not to punish them. It's, let God do that. Come on, just let God do that. Let karma and the nature and the universe do that. Just remove poisonous elements from your society. It is a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals. I disagree. My mother would beat me right now. That she wouldn't beat me. She wouldn't whoop me. But my mother would be upset that I don't strongly disagree with that, because I was raised to believe you never, ever, ever, ever give up hope on somebody. The prodigal son is the most important Bible verse. God's Jesus' parables that my mother always used. So you never abandon anybody. You never give up on anyone under any circumstance. And as a good Baptist, it's never too late. I am not a Baptist. I'm an atheist. Strong atheist. Always have been. Anyway, the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and artist. Strongly disagree with that. Oh God, the business person shouldn't exist. Manufacturer is a concept of collective action. Production should exist, but the individual cog in that wheel doesn't call himself a manufacturer in my world. So the writer and artist, and hopefully everybody is a writer and artist in life. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. This is so upper middle class nonsense. Just is. A mother's first job is to make sure there's food on the table. Sometimes the demands of putting food on the table and clothes on the back and medicine is that you work in the mills. So I just nonsense. Strongly disagree. It's just nonsense. I don't believe there's much difference between males and females. I just don't. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Monsanto. Sure. Of course they are. I strongly agree with that. And there's been enough suicides in India to prove that. Oh, God. I could say Mansana, but I still can't say it. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. No, strongly disagree. Making peace with yourself is the most important thing you can do in life. Coming to understand who you are, why you are, and what you are is the most important thing you can do in life. Everything else is secondary. You can't do anything else unless you figure that out. If you get through that, okay, you'll find a proposition or religion agrees. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. It's make-believe. I know that might offend some folks that follow me, but it's nonsense. No, I'm a hard materialist. I do not believe in religion or astronomy or any of that other stuff. Materialist. Sorry. Don't believe it. You cannot be moral without religious. Strongly disagree. Read some Kant. It's pretty easily be moral without being religious. It just pretty is. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Strongly disagree. Charity is a tax dodge. Nope. Charity is not something to be praised. It is something that is what is required from you. You have to have grace. You have to be charitable. If you are not, you're an abomination. That's what I grew up with. I don't know what y'all folks grew up with. But you don't get a cookie for being charitable. And charity doesn't work in a society as well and as efficiency as positive social programs. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly disagree. This is the just world nonsense that explains most of conservative thinking. It's asinine. Babies die. Widows die. Bad things happen to everybody. There is no justice in the world. There just isn't. It's important that my child's schools instill religious values. Strongly disagree. They should worship the state. If compulsory education is going to exist, it is going to be a system of indoctrination that produces well-rounded, inquisitive, and obedient citizens, not consumers. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Strongly disagree, but let me explain something. You shouldn't be having meaningless engagements in life. I can't. Y'all shouldn't either. But who cares? Knock yourself out. Enjoy yourself. It's just not for me. Same-sex couple in a stable living relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. If you find some people that are willing and able to adopt kids, cool. Knock yourself out. I just don't want to have kids. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for adult population. God, this is 1912? Strongly agree. American society wouldn't be functioning right now without Pornhub. What goes on in the private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I strongly agree. Just don't involve cameras. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I don't think people naturally feel anything. Strongly disagree on that. I believe personal human sexuality is a lot more fluid than we say it is. It just is. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I strongly agree with this. It makes me exceedingly uncomfortable because I'm a prude. But I don't care. Y'all enjoy yourself. Have fun. It's just I'm a little bit uneasy about certain topics because how I was raised and the environment I grew up in. But I don't hold you to my standards. About reading the compass. I should be on Paul Potts' side. Let me see. Do I get the Noam Chomsky side? No. I should be right about in this area right here. Of course. See, Gandhi's up here. I should be right down here. Should be down here. Let's see where I'm at. Right there. I am actually going up. I used to be at one period of time almost right down in this bottom quadrant. I probably become a little bit more Leninist in my persuasion as I've aged. But obviously, that isn't surprising where I knew I was going to end up being. Anyway, this was for me something to do today. Hopefully, maybe you got some entertainment out of this. Hopefully, you can ask me questions and I can answer in the comments. But I doubt very seriously if anybody actually reads this or listens to it. Watch. That's the word I was looking for. Watch. But anyway, that would be pretty much it. Let me look down on the camera and find. Oh, F12. Goodbye.